turning into a bit of a thing, isn't it, Gillian, with the EU threatening legal action if they don't get their vaccines?
Yes, it is. I mean, obviously what we're doing is focusing on our vaccine plan, as we have done all along. I think, you know, we speak to the manufacturers on a daily basis. Obviously, we've had these contracts in place with many of the vaccines, and we've even got contracts in place with more that aren't yet approved. But we've had those in place for a number of months, and obviously been working on building up the supply chain. The supply chain is obviously going to be tough, and it's obviously going to be there's so much more demand than supply, and that's going to create a lot of issues. I find that even in the UK, you know, when we're talking, there's areas that think they're ahead or behind, and everybody's so desperate to get the vaccine.
But the question is, how far will the UK go to protect how far will the government go to protect the UK vaccine plan?
Well, we've protected we have a contract, we have our supply, we speak to them every day, they've secured the supply. You know, we've had those contracts in place for 3 months. You know, we took a risk, actually. When we got...
I think they were since May last year, weren't they, the contracts? Not
yes,
just the last 3 months.
Yes, but when we've had them in place, you know, all of them in place for the last 3 months. But what we had, when we got the vaccine task force set up, you know, we took an unusual move by bringing in Kate Bingham, who did an amazing job. She's a venture capitalist who's used to investing in early stage drugs. And she knows all the relationships, she knows all the people. And I think she did a brilliant job. You know, we took a risk, but it's paid off. And they are secure, the supply. We have it coming through.
So AstraZeneca's not going to be diverting vaccines meant for the UK to the EU?
No, and it's being made in 2 places here in the UK as well. And the vials are being made in Wrexham. So, you know, we have 2 factories making it here. We have the vials being made in Wrexham. We have vaccination centres. We've got all kinds of things that have been rolling out. Pharmacies have come on stream this week, and also larger vaccination centres. And we'll continue going until we get, obviously our first target is to get all those top 4 groups vaccinated by mid-February, and we're on target to do that.
Deborah Meaden. I mean, the plan is to vaccinate all adults, isn't it? By the
first 9 groups, which go up to the over 50s, so I just get in there actually. But that's the first plan, and the first 4 groups by mid-February, the first 9 groups in the spring, and then there's a review period then, because there's other questions about priorities and whatever.
But so to Sam's question,
if we then continue to do everybody, we could do everybody in the UK, all 53 million adults, by autumn.
And is that the plan, or is that just something that's being considered?
There's a review point after they've done those 9, and so
it's not definite. It's just being considered.
It's been planned in terms of we could do it, but you know that's what we're working on.
We're not sure if we will do it.
There's a review point after the first 9. So and of course it's a global pandemic. I mean, we obviously and working on the supply chains, I think, is important, because there are now some suppliers in Europe who are working with the vaccinators to set up other factories, like we've set up factories here. They can set up other factories as well. So it's bound to be at the beginning. Just remember, the 8th of December was the day the first person was vaccinated in this country. It is not that long ago that we did that. So, you know, it is very, very... We're in the very early days of this, and it will get better, and it will get better for everybody. And actually, sub-Saharan Africa and some of those countries where they've got massive new strains and variants is somewhere that we will definitely have to look at seriously as well.
All right, I'm going to move on, but before...
them back into school as soon as possible.
Gillian.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt that education is a national priority, and the only thing above education is protecting the NHS. And the only reason we made the decision to close the schools, which we were desperate not to do, because of all the impacts it has on children's progress, mental health, everything, and their structure, everything, is we made the decision on the 4th of January, actually the day they went back, was because of the new variant and the data that we got from the new variant. And that data, just so people understand, we found out on the 18th of December about how virulent that was. And between that time and the 4th of January, it then became the dominant virus for all patients that were being tested. It absolutely was unbelievable in terms of the data. Now, in terms of the science, and obviously, you know, there's always a discussion about prioritisation, but we have put in place a group of people so we don't have to do it, so the Labour Party doesn't have to do it, so politicians don't have to do it, so Deborah doesn't have to do it, and they're called the JCVI, and they are professors and doctors, and they have expertise, and they're looking at the data, and they're making the hard choices. They're making the hard choices about who to prioritise. They're making the hard choices about the single dose and then the second dose. These are all hard choices. You know, and they have got all of the data and they're making the choices.
So there's no chance that the government's going to change its mind on this, as it has on other things.
Well, you know, as Brian said, we're waiting to get this data in terms of reopening the schools. And I think it's a very important point he made about trying to keep the schools open. Once we open them, then keeping them open. I mean, obviously...
And you can hear how much people want the schools.
Absolutely. And if you see the kids, I mean, I was going around to colleges, you know, in that period when they were open, you've never seen a more motivated, excited set of pupils to just be back. I mean, they really have realised what they've been missing. They really do appreciate school. But we have to follow the data. Now, that's why we've said we'll get this information in mid-February. Parliament's back on the 22nd. We'll put the plan in place. The full intention, assuming the data is going in, you know, how we think it will do, is to open on the 8th and to put that plan in place. And it may have to be staggered a bit. And, of course, the prioritisations will be there. Okay, well, school attendance has been very high. So Kate's point...
Quickly, because I just need to get to the audience.
OK, but Kate's point was about... Well, first of all, Angela Rayner's point was about it was, you know, there was more risk for teachers, which then was obviously proved wrong, again, with data. But Kate's point about attendance levels, 99.9% of schools are open, were open, and the attendance levels were high. And we just introduced mass testing to enable us to better, you know, testing was sent to schools. OK,
yes, but then it was decided that wasn't a good idea.
Nobody's done it.
That wasn't a good idea.
Well, it wasn't a good idea. It was also because the schools aren't there, the kids aren't there, right? So they are testing, actually, the pupils who are there. But we have got these facilities. But, you know, there is no magic vaccine tree. If the teachers have it in February, it means somebody else doesn't have it in those priority groups. And that, according to the JCVI, would have a bigger impact on risk for people in the country of death from coronavirus.
There's a lot of hands up in our audience. Sam, I'm going to come to you, because if I remember rightly, you've got 5 children, is that right? So this is obviously a subject very close to your heart.
Oh, yes. So I've had 5
that was a big
children
sigh.
at home. Oh, it has been very...